This podcast is proudly brought to you in part by our wizards on Patreon. If you would like to support positive content, hop on over to patreon.com/MissMaryLou. That's patreon.com/MissMaryLou. Only I can change my life. No one can do it for me. Carol Burnett. Now, aside from the fact that I absolutely adore Carol Burnett, it's kind of what this podcast is all about in a quote. In a way, is just like taking the time to put into yourself. I know caring for others and being kind to everyone is important, but especially with the self-care experiments that we've been talking about lately, it's like an inside-out approach. Being good and nurturing yourself, the more that you change your life and love yourself, the more giving that you can be to others. And other people can feel that, because I myself, and I know a lot of people who seek so much on the outside for changing their life and caring for others, and it leads to a long journey where they never quite find the right path. And that's okay. Like, we're all on this crazy thing called life, friends. But we have to do it for us. We have to do it. We're the only ones that can do it for ourselves. We're more of a full, whole individual finding life change and happiness, or whatever it is that you're after, from yourself. You are the one that can make a difference in your life. You are the superhero of your own story. You are. It might not seem like it sometimes, certainly, but you are the superhero protagonist that can make the biggest difference in yourself. And when you really start cultivating and tending to that, and it begins to grow, you just have more empathy for other people. I know this quote isn't necessarily about other people, but with it sort of talking about how it's not about other people makes me think about other people. Yeah, I've noticed, especially since starting this podcast, that just as if my empathy couldn't get any bigger, it's just like my understanding and patience has just like grown exponentially. It's kind of like a fortunate side effect, I guess, for myself, that my compassion towards other people has grown even more since I've been more compassionate to myself. But, I do think Carol Burnett, the amazing red-headed comedy genius and loving, wise human. I love Carol Burnett. Totally not biased at all, except, yes, very biased. Only I can change my life. No one can do it for me. Yeah. Yes. All right, friends, hello, and welcome back to another episode of PositiviTea. This is the feel-good podcast where we give you good vibes by the spoonful. I am your host, Miss Mary Lou Ryan, and it is absolutely a pleasure being back in your earballs this week. I really look forward to this every week. It's just a little moment of peace and light and love, and I hope that it does the same for you listening, or even maybe just like a little bit of one of those would be just so incredible. So the tea that I am drinking today, my friends, oh my goodness gracious, I haven't actually taken a sip of it yet. It's my tea of the month this month, actually. If you saw that episode, it's a okay, just like absorb all these words and then imagine them in a tea. It's ridiculous. White champagne raspberry tea. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. White champagne raspberry freaking tea. Yes, magic in 3 words right there. It is a white tea with champagne and raspberry flavors in, and also has safflowers in the blend as well. This is from Chado Tea Room. They have 2 locations that I know about in Los Angeles, and it's just so good. It is non-alcoholic. Every year for the holidays, I like to go and scour the tea world, hunt for something special to serve during holiday gatherings. It's just fun. It's a fun excuse to just go out and find something really special. And I had actually had this tea in the tea house before, and I had it iced with some fresh strawberries in it, and I was just like over the moon. What the heck even is this tea? It's just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. So, yes, beautiful white tea leaves with champagne and raspberry flavor and safflowers, and it's so pretty. And as soon as I open the jar, my entire house smells of it in the best sort of way. And it's just it's light, it's fruity, but it's got that like champagne note to it that really ground it, so it's not too acidic or anything. And the website technically marks it as caffeine free. White tea is the lowest caffeine level out of all the forms of the tea leaf picked. But so I guess I expected it to have some caffeine in it, but maybe the level is low enough where they can actually say that it's decaf on the website. Mm. So light, so lovely. It's really, really good iced too. I know I'm drinking it hot today, but I just wanted like a peaceful treat myself kind of moment. And boy, this tea is, it's not decadent because it's not like really rich, but it makes me feel real fancy, and I just wanted a little extra sparkle in my teacup today, you know? So, what I discovered with our self care experiment part of this podcast is through the happenstance that I had to miss a few weeks, I got to spend more time on each of the things that I was working on. For instance, last week I talked about how working on the language I used to describe myself, by spending like a month or so working on that, it led to huge discoveries in even the way that I think about myself, and just changing that because, we're literally building new neural pathways. There's the your little neuron cells in your brain, that like to stretch out, communicate. We are literally forming physical paths to change the way we think. I know it seems really abstract because it has to do with thoughts and whatnot, but we're actually like those little neurons. They grow out little new arms and reach out for new hugs with just easier brain paths. And one reason it's so hard for us to start thinking a certain way that we want to improve on is because like that takes time. Cells don't just do what we want them to do. I don't have that kind of power. I mean, they do. It takes time. It takes a while. And, I've been thinking about this, and I've known about the whole neural pathway rebuilding thing. They talk about it a lot in meditation, which I've talked about on the podcast before. But I think really taking a full month to work on something has been hugely beneficial. Like, oh my goodness gracious, beneficial. And so I think what I want to do, instead of changing the self-care experiment every week while still also working on the one from the previous week, I want to just focus on one for the month, because just it's amazing, and I hope that you mayhaps work on these with me. And there are some self experiments in the past where I would love to revisit them and give them that time. So this week's this month's, should I say this month's now? Well, I suppose so. This month's self-care experiment, we had touched on balance and reevaluate. And this specifically for me has been very focused on my work life, my creating life online more specifically. I thought I had found a balance and I didn't. And I talked about how I sort of made a new schedule for myself, and I have been giving that a shot and just constantly checking in with me, right? How does this feel? Do you need more time? Do you need help? Etc., etc. And I think that's really, really valuable. And I definitely kept this up throughout the week as well. Now, things have been a little thrown off from the norm because, like my editor had to take a week off, which is absolutely wonderful. So my awesome fiance stepped in and edited an episode. I'm going out of town the day that you're listening to this when it comes out. I am flying for a few days to visit my grandfather. So even recording the Tuesday episode, as I'll be back on Monday, but definitely jet lagged, is all going to kind of be a challenge. So things haven't really settled down. And of course, now it's the holidays. So this is definitely going to be a challenge. Maybe doing this during a holiday season actually going to be really, really beneficial for me because I feel like a lot of stuff gets out of whack over the holidays, for better or for worse. And then we kind of come back in January with like this weird holiday season hangover because everything has just been so discombobulated. So I think that this process of trying something and constantly checking in with myself might be a really, really valuable tool this November. So I'm really excited to kind of do that. And as far as reevaluating goes, so I did make the decision to stop launching Sunday content on my YouTube channel. And I've been trying that out this week, and I have to say it's been really, really helpful. There was so much stress, and I never had a day off ever. I mean, I still kind of don't have days off. I try to take days off. I really do, I promise. But it helps so much. And instead of like rushing and cramming and just being fatigued, because I think that's a big thing, is just feeling fatigued with the whole process. Cutting out that Sunday episode is definitely helpful. So, I mean, like, who knows in the future, maybe I'll get this giant wave of humans and be able to hire a whole team of people behind me, and then I can crank out content. But I'm not there yet, and that's totally okay. I'm so happy where I'm at right now. And yeah, of course, like I'm trying to reach new wonderful humans to come join the tea party because spreading the love, it's what it's all about. But it's kind of like a really nice place right now. I'm even just like smiling thinking about it. So, reevaluating, not doing Sunday has definitely helped a lot. And I also realized that I need more help. I do, especially because I want to make the podcast a priority to be able to keep up with it. And so, I was having a conversation and the other person was like, "You do a lot. You do a lot." Because I still stream about 4 times a week. I live stream for anywhere from like 3 to 5 hours at a time, 4 days a week. And then producing 2 videos, including the podcast. So that's 6 pieces of content a week. This is a lot. And they're like, "You do a lot." And when I live stream or when I film anything, I always have to set everything up. Nothing really lives in a place ready to go. So for live streaming, for instance, every single time I do it, I have to rearrange the table, get the camera set up, get all of the cables set up for the loop pedal that I'm using now, get the laptop set up set up. I have to rearrange the fairy lights in my background because I can't leave them down or my cats go crazy. So just every little aspect, I basically have to start from scratch. And then when I'm done and I'm really tired, I have to take it all down because there's lots of cables and everything. And I film usually, this is my office, so this setup is a little bit of an exception when I do the podcast, but otherwise, all my other content I film in my dining room area, um, which is, slightly different for my videos and everything. So even just that aspect of it can seem like a lot when you've been singing for a really long time, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want my cats to chew through all my cables. So I just needed a little bit more help. And so I have had a good friend of mine agree to do the editing for the podcast for me. It's actually my fiance, who knows me really well, who originally started this podcast with me. So if there's anyone that knows how it goes, who knows me, who I trust to edit something as personal and as important as this, it's definitely him. So I'm really, really grateful for that. But also reevaluating, right? Having those conversations and just being like, it still feels like too much. It still feels like I'm just buried under sand and I feel like I don't want to do anything. So yeah, that's really helpful. So that's something that has gone into effect this last week. And I think that's good. And checking in with myself, I feel a lot better about it. And granted, acknowledging that everything is also kind of not regular right now, not scheduled like it normally is. But that's okay. And checking in with yourself, right? Because we can have all these plans that sound super great. And we're like, yeah, that makes total sense. Your brain is like, sure, right? But still listening to your gut. It's like our bodies know. Our bodies know. Our brains can try to outthink our gut reactions and stuff, but check in with yourself. If you're kind of feeling like something is out of whack, reevaluate, seek balance. I'm going to continue, like I said, to really concentrate on working this all throughout November. So I will let you know how that goes. Let me know if you are following along at all. Or if you're trying any other self-care experiments and kind of committing for the month. I would really love to hear about your journeys. I've heard from a few people and it's just been really, really wonderful to hear like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need to be working on right now. Or like, I just needed to have this in my earballs today. It's absolutely a pleasure. So, anywho, moving on. Community news. Welcome back to Community News. This is the part of the podcast where I celebrate your general awesomeness, give you a little shout out, and just bask in the wonderfulness of you. And I got some wonderful, wonderful submissions this week, I have to say, especially considering the fact that I was very last minute about it. So for everyone that jumped in and submitted something, thank you. Thank you so very much. I love this part of the podcast. It gives me all the warm fuzzies, and it's just the best. So over from our Discord, this one is from Rachel, and Rachel says, I finally feel like I have a handle on this season's choir music, which is great because the concert is coming up so fast and I missed a few early rehearsals, so I was worried I wouldn't be able to catch up. Rachel. Also, Rachel says, I put up a video today that I've been meaning to put up for months. Rachel, you are a productivity wizard. Okay, so first of all, Rachel, you are making music an active part of your life by being a part of a choir and singing in public and all of the super fun things, which is I love that. I love that so much, and I'm glad in your busy adult life you're making time for something that you don't have to do, but you want to do it. And not only that, but you are getting a handle on the music. And then also the little second part of this, putting up a video today that I've been meaning to put up for months. Yo, can we just talk about for a brief moment how hard it is to do things sometimes? Things that, if you think about it, logic it out, might not take you more than a minute, an hour, a day, etc. In the grand scheme of things, not that much time, but for just some reason, you cannot bring yourselves to do it. I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast, like way a while ago, called The Wall of Awful, which is a really, really helpful breakdown from it. How to ADHD on YouTube has a really helpful couple of videos about the Wall of Awful. And you know what, Rachel? You constructed a healthy door through that wall of awful. You found out how to take the bricks away that you needed to and put in a nice little way to the other side. And you did it. You did it. And I watched it. It's very, very funny. The episode is actually called Star Trek Had No Effing Right. And I love Star Trek, and also I enjoy it very much. So, Rachel, I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. You're prioritizing things in your life that matter to you, that make you happy, like music, being in a choir, and also you are tackling that wall of awful and getting something out into the universe that your heart has wanted to do, that you can feel it in your body is something that you needed to create, and you did it. That's no small feat. That's really wonderful. You are a productivity wizard and a life prioritizing wizard and a Star Trek wizard. Wow, that's mixing universes. But you're wonderful. I'm so happy for you. The next one here is from Daybreak, and Daybreak says, I had a proper birthday party with friends this past weekend for the first time in 9 years. There were a few hiccups, but I'm just so happy to feel acknowledged and appreciated and celebrated by people after being on my own for so long. Daybreak, how wonderful. First of all, happy birthday. You are lovely. And I didn't know that it was the first time in 9 years you've done something for your birthday. I'm really proud of you. It can be difficult when life is being lifey, to reach out to others and feel like maybe something you haven't celebrated in the past is worthy of celebration and love from others. So I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. And fun fact, I was at this birthday gathering and there was much board games and pie, and it was just lovely. I didn't get to stay for as long as I wanted to, but I was happy. I was happy to see you. I was so happy to see you, Daybreak. So, you are a birthday worthy wizard. You're a worthy wizard. I like that a lot. You are a worthy wizard. You are so worthy of love. You are so worthy of celebration just for the sake of you. Happy birthday, you worthy wizard, you. And last of all, I am going to hijack the last community news. I finally, oh my gosh, it's been so difficult. I finally have a new therapist. Holy wow. It's been a freaking headache, my friends. The last place where I was going, which was also really, really difficult to get into, it turns out somehow I had kind of like gotten into this place as like a fluke. It was meant to be more of a crisis center. They don't really do regular weekly appointments anymore. So I went in a few times And they're like, let's set up a plan. So, because you definitely, need and want help. So let's set up a plan to get you somewhere where you need to go. And due to walls of awful and also insurance companies being really hard and stuff, I basically, oh gosh, when's the last time I actually went to an appointment? It must have been, I think it was in June. And then before that, I don't think I'd had therapy in like 6 years. So, I finally have another appointment. It's going to be this coming week. So, it's only going to be an every other week kind of thing, but that's okay. I'm excited. I have to say, they have been just the nicest on the phone. So, like, patient and deliberate and compassionate with their words, even when it's just things like, oh, we need your insurance information or whatnot. But it's already been a really, really refreshing, beautiful experience. And I'm really looking forward to it. I've been trying really hard to just find somewhere where I can just go talk to somebody. Hopefully, they're a good fit, and if they're not, it's okay. I can always do what I did a third time or more, and that's okay. Because again, reevaluating, checking in with myself, seeing how my body's doing. But right now, I'm just really freaking relieved that I can finally get in somewhere else. I've had a really, really big year of self discovery about and a lot of realizations about the truth of my past. It's a lot to process, and I would definitely really love to have tools to make that process easier and also to come to terms with my past. So, and my present ish is still going on. I'm feeling a lot lighter though, I have to say. I'm feeling a lot lighter. So anyway, that's my good news. I'm really ecstatic to share with you that I finally, hopefully, have a place where I can get regular therapy. And, because seek help. You're worth it. Seek help. You're worth it. Yeah, so yeah, really important. Yeah, wow, this has been a big year. I've started new medications to help, getting therapy. We're doing it. We're doing it, friends. I am a worthy wizard. I'm a worthy wizard. I like that. I should make a pin or something. Worthy wizard. Heck yeah. Good news, everyone! I have good news. Welcome to the final segment of our podcast where I dive into the depths of the interwebs to find some good news for you. Again, it's important to stay informed on the happenings in the world, but it's more important not to become a non-functional human being. I'm here for you, and also here for me, because I need this too. I'm telling you. This article that I've chosen this week, it was actually published November 13th, so the day I'm recording this. This Tom Hanks story will help you feel less bad. Hanks is playing Mr. Rogers in a new movie, and it is just as nice as you think he is. Please read the article anyway. Of course, I'm going to be linking the article below. It is a very lengthy article, so I will certainly not be reading the whole thing to you or even a notable fraction of the article to you, but there are just some wonderful anecdotes in here, and they certainly do make me feel less bad. So, without further ado, once in 2008, when he was shooting Angels and Demons in Rome by the Pantheon, a bride and her father couldn't approach the chapel because of all the hullabaloo, so Hanks stopped filming to escort them to the altar. Once in 2015, he stopped by a table of Girl Scout cookies and bought some boxes, donated an additional $20, then offered selfies to passerby as an enticement to buy. That same year, he found a young woman's student ID in a park and used his charming Twitter feed, which is filled with found items, to get it back to her. Before shooting Saving Private Ryan, Steven Spielberg sent Hanks and other cast members out to do military training in the woods with a former Marine. After spending time in the rain, they all voted to quit the training, except for Hanks, who chose to obediently perform the job he was hired for and spurred the other men to stick with it as well. The journalist who wrote this article is someone who has interviewed Tom Hanks before, and it's just basically somewhat of a real life experience breakdown, somewhat analysis of just how profound it is to be empathetic and kind. Honestly, even, the journalist talks about how they have, been struggling with parenting and they were having a conversation about it and they literally cried through half of the interview afterwards, and all Tom Hanks was like, it's good to cry, get it out, I'm here for you, and all of this stuff. Sure, Tom Hanks had some difficulties when he was younger, but he doesn't really let it sour him in a way, I suppose. He doesn't hold any anger or hard feelings. He focuses a lot more on his life right now and what he can do for his kids right now and the kind of characters he chooses to play and that his production company puts on. And there are also some fun things that other people have said about Tom Hanks in here. Also, some people have said that Tom Hanks wasn't really acting in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, where he plays Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, who, if you don't know much about Fred Rogers was a really incredible human who made an enormous impact on all of us. Without him, there would be no PBS. And I just absolutely incredible. But yes, Tom Hanks is acting, but also he does have a lot of traits in common with Fred Rogers, of course. Especially one challenging thing, apparently, in learning the role was Fred Rogers was very, very thoughtful and slow with his speech. So that I have read now was a difficult thing to get used to. But just drawing the parallels between the two real life people, the movie is actually based on an article, which I found really touching, where a journalist was researching to interview Fred Rogers, and the researching process and then actually meeting Fred Rogers completely changed his entire life. I was a big Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood fan. On my Twitch streams, I sing A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood at least once every stream, usually to open and or close. But it's also just nice because, again, balancing things that are going on in the world. There are people like Tom Hanks who are just genuinely kind and empathetic. And it's just so lovely and so refreshing. Again, it is a little bit of a lengthy article, but I really, really recommend reading it. It's just lovely. One thing that stood out to me when the journalist was researching about things that other people have said about Tom Hanks and their time together, and my favorite, I believe, is from Sally Field, who calls him once in a lifetime Tom. And, it's not like he really tries to hide anything. He'll talk about growing up, it was difficult, but, if people try to ask him about his divorce, he'll just be like, yeah, I got divorced. And now let's talk about something else. And it's just really nice to have a human who's so prominent in the public eye and has been for a little while now, who is just kind and empathetic and has changed this journalist's life a lot like Fred Rogers changed a journalist's life. I hope that you've really enjoyed these little anecdote sort of things. Those are even just from the top of the article. The article is so much more than that. And it's like a hug. It's like a hug in an article, quite honestly. I'm definitely, again, going to link it below so that you can read it. But there is actually a photograph in the article of Tom Hanks with a bride and father on his arm, and he's running them up to get married in the middle of a film shoot. There's a picture of that, and I am so delighted. Have I convinced you to read this yet? I hope I've given you just a little taste of some of the feel goods that are in store. And I mentioned this last week, even the Cinderella movie, the live action one that came out a few years ago. The motto of Cinderella in the movie is have courage and be kind. Have courage. Have the courage to be kind. It might be easier to be flippant or dismissive or get angry or be rude or whatever it is. But have the courage to be kind and show compassion. Because it's not just life-changing when you show that towards yourself. And that's so important. Because you are the only one that can change your life. Thanks, Carol Burnett. But it affects others. It really does. It's amazing. So thank you, Tom Hanks, for being once in a lifetime Tom. All right, my loves, that is it for our podcast today. I've just had a lovely time. I feel like I've just had a tea party, sitting here chatting with friends, and I'm smiling. I don't know about you. Please feel free to message me on social media, on my Discord, whatever it is. Tune in for a live stream on Twitch if you're so inclined for some live story time and singing. We're reading Alice in Wonderland right now, and it brings me so much joy. I'd love to hear about the good things happening in your life, or if you find a good news article or something your community is doing that is worthy of good news time, you know? Absolutely. I love those stories. Those ones make my freaking week, you know? And if you are doing the self-care experiments, I'd love to hear how they're going. Again, seek help. You are worth it. You are so worth it. You are a worthy wizard. All right, my loves, and last and most important of all, I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next tea party. This podcast is lovingly produced, directed, written, and created by yours truly, Miss Mary Lou Ryan. Our music was composed and performed by Jacob Kahn. Our logo designed by Hilda Meyer-Post. And if you'd like to spread a little positivity into the universe, I would love wherever you are tea partying with us to spread the words with those who could use a little cheer in their cuppa. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.